Hello everyone, my name is Taiga and today I'm going to show you how the new DLC Black Sunday affects the meta in Steel Division 2. First of all, I want to remind you that I stream on Twitch a lot, and if you don't know my Twitch channel yet, make sure to check it out because I'll do a reveal stream showcasing everything including the 2 new Army General campaigns as well as giving away a code for the new DLC. If you're watching this during the premiere of this video, I'm currently showcasing the new divisions, so make sure to come by. Link is in the description. As a disclaimer, this is not a divisional overview video, and I will not go over everything the new divisions have in depth. I only briefly mention them and why I think they are as strong as I am saying they are, as well as mentioning changes to already existing units and divisions. To answer a very basic question that you might be asking yourself, is this really going to change how the game is played? And my answer might be disappointing to a lot of people and make others happy. But my honest opinion is that all this DLC did for the meta is add new divisions and tweak the power of weaker divisions, especially guarded divisions. The infantry meta is still going to be dominant meta in this game, and this DLC won't change that. However, before you think that the new DLC doesn't have impactful changes on divisions, you're wrong. And to demonstrate one of the bigger changes, or one major change to a division, let's start with the 9th Cavalry, Guards Cavalry, which now has their Kazakis costing 20 points instead of the old overpowered 15 points. But before you get pissed at me for saying they were overpowered and they should be 20 points, you still get access to the Kazaki Mozin in the form of one card of them, which is a way to be the middle ground between the people that were saying that the Kazakis at 15 points were overpowered and the 15 points Kazakis were balanced. So you still get access to this very powerful squad and plenty of numbers in A. As a second nerf, it also applies to every division that has enforced MSHAs. MSHAs now cost 65 points. So that was a little bit of a nerf to try and counteract this Sherman spam and infantry spam meta. So these are the two big changes to the Kazakis divisions. However, there's another big change to the Strokovi divisions. These divisions that rely on Strokis. So the first change is, the only change actually is that now the Strokis DPs don't get access to SVTs anymore. They're just better Guardia squads in the sense they have more long range capabilities since they have one more man and instead of SMGs they have Mozins. Just so you don't get a little bit too disappointed that now you don't have the SVT infantry anymore, you get now access to the card called Stroki SVT, which is in essence a Stroki unit that gets SVTs instead of the Mozins. So this is a major overhaul to Strokovi divisions, and it might or might not shift the meta a lot. As another change that I still don't really understand, you have the change to the third Canadians with the addition of the rifle Piat. Now you can see here that the rifles have lower availability in their card. And that's because now you have the access to the rifle Piats, which was a way to compensate for the lower numbers. But needless to say that this nerf is actually a buff to them. Because now the only weakness that the third Canadian really had was the not having access to Piats, bazookas, or whatever, is now completely gone. Now they have access to it in plenty of numbers. Also, their Sherman DDs, etc. They cost now 65 points as well. So yeah, a little bit of a weird nerf to the Canadians. By the way, this is pre-made text. This is not actually my deck. Don't copy this. It's horrible. So we talked about the major changes for the normal divisions, or the vanilla divisions. Let's start talking about the new divisions, which is basically what you're here for anyway, and how they will play into the meta. I'll go from the weakest division to the strongest division, and as the first division, I will be mentioning the third VDV, and possibly this is the only time there will be the first division anything besides loss rate, because this division is atrocious. This division is supposed to be the new VDV division with a lot of good infantry. So let's just go into it and why I think it's super atrocious. First of all, their line infantry is this squad, the Santediki DT, which is essentially a squad with 3 MGs and 7 health, which I don't think I need to say that this squad is really bad and has very bad numbers. Their second line infantry is the Desantniki, which is a tanker Desantniki, but without the Molotovs. And again, needless to say, this is just not going to cut it out for them. And they have no other standard line infantry besides the Guardias. So that's a major downside for them because they really don't have any infantry that is decent besides the Guardias here and the tanker Desantnikis. So this is a big downside for them. As well as their air tab is supposed to be strong, but you have very limited slots. If you had another 2 slots or something, it would be really good. But the fact that you have so low slots makes you have to compromise a lot on something that is supposed to be their strength. So the fact that they have very bad infantry and their air tab, which is supposed to be their strength, is atrocious, makes them pretty much the bottom joke of the entire DLC. So I'm really sorry for all the VDV fanboys that were out there. So third VDV as a summary, you probably won't see any competitive play. I don't see them doing that one. Anyway, let's go back, or let's go into the Romanian divisions, and as the second worst, which I would rate as a C tier division, is the first Blindata Romania Mare, which is pretty much the only tank division of the DLC, surprisingly. And it has some interesting stuff in it, but again, this is not a divisional overview video. So let's get into their strengths and why I think they're a C division and why I think they won't get into the meta. They have some interesting things, which I could certainly see creating some appeal to them. They have the Panzer IV with the heat shells with 100mm penetration, which means they can penetrate a Sherman at any range, so at longer ranges, any Sherman. It has 54% penetration chance, besides, rhinos and whatnot, but it has a 54% penetration chance against the MSHAs and normal M4s, which is very interesting because probably one of the major weaknesses for them is the T-34 and the Shermans. And now they have a way to kill them reliably at any range. One major issue with that, though, is that it has 20% accuracy with their heat rounds. And that's pretty much the same accuracy as an HE round. So keep that in mind. Interestingly enough, though, it has more rate of fire and the heat shells. So keep that in mind, too. They do have the benefit of having a strong-ish air tab. They have the J-87D5s, which are really good fighter planes, surprisingly, because of the 220 mils. And they also do have access to the AT cluster bombs, which could mitigate the fact that this division doesn't really get anything big in terms of tanks. They also get the Resita AC 75mm, which is pretty much as Pack 40 on cocaine, or, well, steroids, I guess you say that, cocaine. And they also get access to smoke shells. So this is also very interesting. It's a way to mitigate the fact that they don't have heavy armor. I think the biggest limiting factor for them really is just the fact that their infantry tab is so limited. And, their line infantry is not as good. You could also surely compare this to a rifle squad, but yeah, this just, you don't have enough of them. And also the fact you have to rely on Panzer Grenadiers is not good in the current meta. So I'd say they're a C division. I could see this maybe work in 1 or 2 matchups. I'm very interested to see what people can make out of this division, but honestly, I don't feel like it is going to be any interesting for any competitive players. Anyway, let's go to the third to last division, I guess, which is the for Monte. And this division is really interesting. It has the same basically infantry as the Blindata, besides it has one less MG. It has the Recruities, which is really interesting also. It's basically Ursa Shupin squad, but they actually get the MG. So you could compare them to the Nostovaki from the Finnish. They do get the extra men. From memory, Nostovaki only have 9 health. They also don't get the Molotovs, so... regardless, I think this division is very interesting. They get Schützen, basically, or Vanatori de Monte, which are basically Schützen squad for the 78 Sturm or Panzer Grenadiers with 2 more health. and an extra SMG and rifle. And the interesting thing about this division is that it has cheap infantry and the specialized infantry. They also get this Pioneer Squad, which I absolutely love. It actually gets 27 availability, so this is a really good squad. And they also get the snipers. They get the 2-man or the 5-man 2-sniper squad. And they get the Cavalry, which is a 10-man squad with a sniper and semi-automatic rifles. Don't let the bolt action rifle here dissuade you. This is actually a semi-automatic rifle. So this is really interesting. They have a lot of snipers. They also have a lot of cheap line infantry as well as specialized infantry. The only problem really with them, and why I think they will not be played as much, especially against Sherman divisions, is they can't get access to Panzer IVs in A. And that's a really big downside for them. They only get access to the R35s and the memed R35 with this in this tank, which I think is a really limiting factor for them. So if you're playing against the Sherman spam division early on, you don't really stand much of a chance against it, because the enemy will already by phase B have a good position while you will still be bringing Panzer IVs. And again, these Panzer IVs are really weak against Shermans. So also T-34 divisions, which is pretty much every division that is meta nowadays. T-34 spam and Sherman spam. So yeah, it's a big weakness for them and why I think they are not as good. Their air tab is also pretty okay, I guess. They do have these interesting bombers here, but nothing too special. Their AT planes are honestly really bad, so the only thing that could maybe mitigate the fact that they will be struggling against early tank aggression is not there. They don't have the planes for that. Interestingly enough, all Romania division gets access to the 60mm mortars, which I think is the best mortar caliber, best mortar in the game. And I feel like this, if played correctly, could really help you, especially with the first Blindata. Going back to that division, they also get the 60mm mortars. And I feel like if you don't have as much infantry, maybe you could play skillfully with this and get around it, but I highly doubt it. So as a summary for the division, in a meta standpoint, the Monte has some interesting stuff, but I feel like it will be around B tier, where we'll occasionally see play, but not really. So yeah. So let's go to the top 3 divisions of this DLC, and the divisions I think will really fit well into the meta. And let's start. I don't really have a tiering for this, so I don't know which one of these divisions is really going to be the best, because, you know, limited testing. I can't really play it against other players all the time, so it's really difficult to say what tiering divisions will have. Also, as a last, I kind of forgot this. The Shocky CKM now cost 30 points, so if you're wondering whether the SVT changes affected them or not, they didn't, but now they cost the same as Panzer Grenadiers. So it's interesting to see whether this division will still be meta or not. I believe it will. But yeah, I just had to say this real quick before I get into the next division, which is the Moscaya Group of Bakhtina. And why I mentioned whether the SVT changes affected them or not is because this division really be meta or will be just absolute garbage, whether the changes to the SVTs affect divisions too much or not. Because this division gets access to SVT squads for 20 points. And they can get one in every phase. They also get the Shocky SVT in C phase, so you can have one in each phase. And if the SVT changes prove to be too significant, where Strokovi divisions like the 184th and the 1st Polish show to be not as meta anymore because they don't have the SVTs, or the SVTs are not too expensive, this division could potentially fill this gap and become a really strong division. So they get access to the really cheap SVT squads. I believe this will be 25 at launch though, so don't quote me, this is going to be 20 forever. They also get very strong infantry like the Moscaya Avtomachiki, which we saw before, which is the squad with the highest DPS in this game from memory. Correct me if I'm wrong. You also get access to Osnas, which is a really cheap bazooka. Yada, yada, yada. So plenty of infantry, very good infantry, in fact. They get access to the dock, which is as fast as the Opel Blitz. So faster infantry is always good. They also get the wannabe Sissy Sniper Squad, which is the Osnas VMF, which gets access to the same sniper basically as the Sissy Squads. They just don't get the sick SMG. So yeah, this squad is really one to keep an eye out for. Whether they're gonna be as annoying as the Sissy or not, I don't know. You also get the access to the Osna Saperi, which you can do some interesting stuff with. And a major weakness for this division really is the fact that they don't get access to a lot of tanks. They get access to these T-34s, 76s, and the Su-57, which are plenty, I guess. It really depends on what you're playing against. The positive thing about this division, though, and why I think you won't struggle against armor as much as the 4th Monte, is the fact that they get a lot of AT planes and SS2s. Unfortunately, you don't get access to the 45 mils until phase C, so that's a big weakness for them. But you can mitigate that with just, you know, the fact that they have the this 257 millimeters and IL-2s and the big HE SAP rockets in the form of the P3 BIS. So yeah, they can sort of counter an early push, and if you play it correctly, you could absolutely play really well with this division or have very good results with them. They also have a low detail that they don't get access to EA in A, so that's also a major weakness against them. But they get the Spitfire Mark 5B for really, really cheap. So 80 points for that. You get 2 of them, and they have excellent agility, which is just perfect. So potentially against air, you shouldn't be struggling as much. You also get access to the AW3s, which are the best fighters in this game. So yeah, lots of potential here in the air. So air should not be a department you should be worrying about. They also get very interesting off-map. They get access to the Adrusha off-map, which are actually HE shells. I believe the VDV actually gets access to an off-map similar to this, but instead of HE shells, it's smoke shells. So keep that in mind. So yeah, they have plenty of interesting things in here that they can play with. And I just believe this division will potentially be really meta in the right hands. So I'd say this is an A division, pretty much. Let's go to the Romanian side to keep it allies axis allies. Let's go to the 5th Cavalry Motorizata, which is probably my favorite division out of this DLC, because it kind of just presents a division that can spam as many automatic rifles as a Strelki division back in the days, or the 1st Polish. So this is really interesting because they get access to these semi-automatic rifles, and this could potentially be the first Axis division that could spam as much infantry as a Strokovi division back in the days. So this really excites me, and I really want to see what happens to this division, because this division, depending again on the SVT changes, whether they are significant enough to break divisions like the 1st Polish and say 184th, whether those changes are significant enough to break these divisions, this division could take over and finally give the Axis a good division to play with that could potentially spam infantry, because the Axis is really needing something like that. They also get access to Granisseri, which is a sniper squad with 10 health again, and you get 24 of them in B, and it's 25 points. So yeah, really good stuff. You also get access to the Cavalry, again, as I said in the 4th Monte. Get access to all these smaller tanks, which is really exciting. Their big weakness is exactly like the Tartar-like, so they don't get access to as many tanks as you should have. But the fact that you have a lot of infantry, and the fact that you also have a very strong air tab when it comes to AT, makes this division pretty decent, and not really having to rely as much on tanks as they have to. So you get access to the HS-129B2, but instead of having the shitty cannon down here, they actually get the AT cluster plane, or cluster bombs, which can kill heavy tanks. Same for the J87D3, which you already know from the game, vanilla game. This is just very powerful, and their bomb loadouts is also very impressive. The thing about this is really cool, because you could deactivate these bombs and just have these bombs drop, and then, you know, use these to bomb something different. So you can have 2 bombing runs in the same life, I guess it's what you call it. So very interesting stuff here with the bombers. They also get access to the 60mm mortars. And again, get access to this biplane, which actually has HE cluster bombs. Honestly, don't use them. You don't want to be risking your off-map plane that much. But the interesting thing about this is once the off-map actually runs out, you still have a bombing plane. So even if it doesn't do much, at least it has that going for it. Even after using its off-map, it has some way to be used or some way to be useful. This thing is really interesting. I'll showcase this more in my live stream, which will be happening now if you're watching this during the premiere. Should be going on until 10 p.m. CST, so Central European Summertime, on the 15th of August. So if you're watching this before the 10 p.m., then make sure to come by, and if you have any questions related to this, you could ask. Probably Sunday, so the 16th, I'll also be streaming, and Monday potentially. They also get access to the big AC 75mm, which makes them really good at killing a little bit of a heavier tank. But again, their air tab is really fantastic, and just the fact everyone here gets a automatic rifle just makes this division so good, and potentially the first Axis infantry spam division out there. Okay, well, let's go to our last division, which is the 7th Mechanized Corps, which I meme called here as the 7th Armored, just because the 7th Armored is my little baby. So, what makes this division good is that they're a Sharky division. Sure, they don't have the extra slot here, and that's a big downside to them. But their infantry is plenty enough, and especially now that you also get an extra card of Shrunky SVT, so you have even more special infantry. It makes this division really good, and this division will absolutely be top of the meta if the SVT changes are not relevant enough. Simply because of the amount of infantry they get, and because they get the Matilda. No, I'm joking. Because they can spam the T-34s like crazy, and they have a lot of cute little tanks. On top of just being able to spam T-34s. So imagine this is the 184, but they actually have T-34s. They actually have the support guns. So this can kill a, let's say, Sturmtiger at max range because of the 160mm penetration to any range given to the heat shell. And they also get the ISU 1-2. So this is a 184 with one less infantry slot. However, they get T-34s, they get access to all these cool support guns, and they get access to this big tank, the ISU 122S. So they have a lot going for them. They also get the cool little mortar bike, which I think is one of the best artillery pieces in this game. They have the SIS-1, which is actually a tank, but also an off-map. So you could potentially just use this as a tank afterwards, but don't buy this to be a tank. It's a really expensive off-map, but it's really worth it, I think. In my opinion, at least. Their plane department is a little bit weaker than most divisions, but their bombs still do the job, and these bombers are completely amazing. So you shouldn't really be lacking that much on air power, or at least infantry support. And yeah, this is just an amazing division. If the Strelky DPs are still good after the SVT changes, and it wasn't just the fact they had the SVTs, it was a combination of all the support they get and the SVTs and whatnot. But if the nerf to the Shrunky DPs is not significant enough, this division could absolutely be top of the meta, because it can deal with Shermans, it can deal with a lot of infantry, it can deal with T-34s, it can bomb things, it has off-map, it has everything you'd want, and they have the Matildas and this little cute thing. So yeah, look forward to this division. As my personal top 3, as I said, Moscaya, 7th Mechanized, and the 5th Cavalry Motorizata. I think these divisions are going to be A tier, potentially S tier, depending on how the meta changes, but this is all gross speculation, so just keep in mind. But as an inside view on the divisions, as someone that tested these divisions a little bit, and just trying to really help out the people that are still playing competitive and have to deal with these divisions that are coming out now, I just wanted to make a quick overview of what you have to pay attention to and what my experiences with these divisions are. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to me, I guess, or, follow me, I guess, on Twitch as well. And I really appreciate you if you just come by on my Twitch stream eventually, someday, and just ask your question or whatever. I'm happy to help anyone that is new to this game. And yeah, well, I hope this video is not too long for you to watch. And well, I don't have anything else to say. So see you next time. Pop by my stream. Link is in the description. Make sure to subscribe to me on YouTube or something. Check out Angry Bird because I made a video with him. It should be coming out as well at the same time as this video, I hope. So also talking a little bit about the meta. It's a little bit more compressed, so it's not as much information for you. It's just a quick overview. Much quicker than this. And yeah, till the next time. See ya.